Hello Glamour Ghouls and welcome back. If you are new here, my name is Midge Munster and on this channel we do all things campy, kooky, glamorous, and spooky. It is finally time. If you've been with me for a little while, you know that my husband and I purchased this house in June of 2020. So we are in our second year of owning this house, and this room, my studio, has been a work in progress since the minute we moved in. The first week we had keys to the house, I immediately painted this wall pink. I knew the vision for this space, but I didn't really know like how to get it there. I definitely had help along the way from different people, but we are now officially at the point where the studio is finished. It is exactly how I want it to be. I have been waiting and waiting to be able to show you all this full space, and I cannot wait to share it with you today. So we're gonna get moving here in a bit, and I'm gonna take you on a tour of this room. But I first wanted to tell you a little bit about the concept, I guess, for how I wanted to decorate this room, the idea behind the design. Some of you may have heard me call this room my spooky Palm Springs lady lair, and that's exactly what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be this beautiful place where spooky met mid-century modern, because I really love spooky home decor, but I also love bright colors. I feel like a lot of times when you see really beautiful, ornate, spooky design, it very much leans Victorian as far as the era or the history of it goes, which I think is so beautiful, but it's just not for me. It's a little too ornate. I love the clean lines of mid-century modern, and so I really wanted to find a way to incorporate those two things together to make my own personal style. So I'm gonna jump right in, and we're gonna start with this wall over here because y'all asked me about this wall and this lamp every single video. So I want to give you the details on that first. All right, so this is the spiderweb breeze block wall, and this was the very first idea I had for this space when we moved. I had no idea how to execute it or make it happen, but I had this idea of making breeze block that, you know, maybe I would cut out of squares of plywood or something. I made my own template originally. I actually think I still have it. Yep, it's all bent up now because it's been in a closet, but I made this template originally, and I had bought a bunch of plywood squares, and I had every intention of like tracing this onto big boxes and making a huge like wall of these basically. And this is why I also selected the pink for this wall, because I wanted the white to pull from the white around the rest of the room, but then have this really bright color popping through the breeze block so that it was very evident what the shape was. So this really is the full foundation of the spooky Palm Springs idea. I wanted these elements that look very mid-century, but when you look a little bit closer, you're like, is that spiderwebs? Now, I did not make this myself. My friend Bethany actually came in. She's a great interior designer, and when I talked to her about this concept, she created like a vision board for me and really helped me get all these big ideas in my head down into a like conceivable design plan. That's really where I struggle as a person. I have all these really big ideas and I get very excited about things, but it's hard for me to go from point A to like action plan. And so I was very thankful that Bethany stepped in and helped me with some of these bigger projects, the breeze block being the main one. And I could not be happier with how this turned out. Originally, I pictured it being kind of across the whole wall, but I'm actually glad that it's just this like one strip because it gives me so many different options for vignettes and stuff along this pink wall. So this is just a huge piece of plywood that she stenciled this onto and then cut out with like a jigsaw, which again, I cannot thank her enough for doing this project for me because I have the patience of a goldfish. And it honestly, it just never would have gotten done if it were me. So very, very thankful to Bethany for this. And then we just put it up on the wall and like nail gunned it to the wall here. And it's beautiful. It's my favorite part about the room for obvious reasons. The second part of this little area is our old pal Barnabas here. This is another Bethany project, so I cannot take credit for him either. And this was something I didn't even know that I wanted or needed. But Bethany made this like stand, this metal stand for a Halloween skeleton so that it would stand on its own. And it has a like pole running up the back for the cords and stuff that go to the light. She of course painted it this beautiful teal turquoisey color, which is exactly the color I wanted against this pink. These are very like 1950s, late 50s, mid-century color palettes. And yeah, she removed the head and added all the electrics and a shade. And now I have a life-size skeleton floor lamp. And I love this so much. It adds so much personality to the room. And again, because it's the teal color, it doesn't read so skeletal. Like it's definitely a skeleton, but it's like fun and campy. Again, thank you, Bethany, for Barnabas. He is a delight and a wonderful addition to the room. So the next aspect I want to talk about are kind of the different vignettes that I set up in here. I wanted to give myself multiple places to film because it can get boring just sitting in one spot for every video. Not just for you guys to watch, but also like for me to just set up the same scene every time. So I wanted to give myself lots of little places that I could film. And I really think I've achieved that. So I want to talk about how I set this up, what I've shifted as of late. And we're gonna start with the little like living room set over here. So this corner over here is what I have been affectionately calling the living room, and I will definitely do some B-roll so you can see all the details and everything in this part of the room. But if you recall, for basically the last year, this chair has been over on that side of the room, and you can kind of see like the little shelf behind me in a lot of my older videos. But like I said, I was working to create several vignettes where I could sit and film. And that shelf, I really wanted to be kind of a thing of its own. And so I scooted everything over here, and I love the way this all looks together. I love that you can see this art finally. This is all by artist Abe, and I will link his website in the description box. I love his art. This is just the perfect little setup of a spooky mid-century living room. Bethany found this incredible piece over here, this like shelf, mid-century shelf, and she actually got it from a woman who was gonna like throw it away, and it was all rusted and had been outside as like a plant stand. And she rescued it and sanded it and painted it gold, and this piece is so gorgeous. I love having that there as a little side table. Again, all these little details just make it look lived in, which is really cool. You'll notice I have my bride bust up on these corner shelves. These shelves were actually in the room when we moved into the house, and I couldn't bring myself to get rid of them because I just thought they were really interesting. And of course, I've got my nice comfy little armchair that I sit in to film with this adorable pillow that was from Target Halloween 2 years ago from that John Darien Halloween line. Again, it is a like pin tuck style pillow, which is very vintage, but it's spooky, so it's that perfect blend of the styles. I also had to leave out my little Wolfman because I love this piece from Spirit Halloween. And then lastly over here, what is probably my favorite part of this section of the room is this planter. And this is another Bethany project. She found these galvanized jack-o'-lanterns and painted it purple, which actually normally I don't like purple at all, but she incorporated really great pops of purple in the room, like this Frankenstein on the wall. I love this art piece. And so this really helps tie in those pops of purple around the room. And I feel like we incorporated purple in a way that kind of pays homage to Beetlejuice just a little bit. There's a lot of like green purple mix, and I really like that. But I'm pretty sure this is just attached to an upside down trash can, but it looks so much like an awesome mid-century like bullet style planter. And then of course I added this Monstera plant to the planter because of course I did. I feel like Monstera, or Swiss cheese plant as some people call them, is like the ultimate mid-century looking plant, and it has the word monster in it, so of course I got it. Overall, I could not be more thrilled with how this part of the room came out. I love sitting here and filming. It's just a feel-good space for me. The whole room is a feel-good space for me. So that pretty much covers it for this part of the room. Let's move over here to the shelf vignette and I will show you what that looks like. Ta-da! So this is the second little vignette that I set up over here on this side of the room. I am so thrilled to have this second angle option. Like I kind of mentioned before, the chair originally was like right in the center of the wall because I was centering up on the spider webs. And while that looked nice, this gives me so much more variety to play with. It gives you interest to look at. Plus, the styling of this shelf is so cute. There's so many fun little bits and baubles on here to look at. The shelf was actually the first piece of furniture that I bought for this room when we moved in. I knew I wanted to have this kind of backdrop with a lot of tchotchkes. I just know I really like when YouTubers have a bunch of little things behind them that like tell the story of who they are, and I wanted to have that for myself as well, and I'm thrilled with the way this shelf came out. It was really important to me to have like a space to display things that mean a lot to me as well, like my Midge Barbie case, which you'll remember from my Christmas video, and this awesome art that was done for me of my YouTube icon. As you can see, I've got some pop figures and different art. Both of these pieces on this shelf are from artist Abe as well. And my styrofoam Frankenstein head, of course, to hold up my books. Some of you might remember this little ghost from At Home this year. I had to get him for this space. And my big boy Beetlejuice, which is from Lucky Hellcat. This was also where I wanted to display my record player because I do love to listen to albums in here while I'm working. And I moved my little glitter lava lamp in here too because I just thought it added some sparkle and some coziness. I'm definitely still working on these last couple of shelves. I have some of my albums here, which I definitely want to move more of them upstairs, and just some bits and baubles from around the room. And right now on the bottom shelf, I am storing my vintage Sunbeam hair dryer, which I absolutely love this item. I found it at a thrift shop and it's so useful. And then I've just got my camera bag down here as well. But I'm happy that I have some open space to work with so that I can continue adding things. It's always better to have more options for storage than less. So I'm glad to have a little bit more shelf space that I can work with as I grow into this space. So that is our second filming location. Now I want to take you over this way and show you my vanity area and some of the art we have displayed in this room. The last couple little things I did want to highlight before I moved on to is this Kit Kat clock that I hung over here. I have had this since I was 18 probably. From the time I was little, I always wanted one of these clocks and I don't know why. Like no one in my family had one. I don't even really know like how I knew what they were, but I knew I wanted one really bad. And so my parents gifted this to me for Christmas when I was like 17 or 18, and I've had it in every place I've lived in. My husband hates this clock and he is convinced that it is haunted. So what better room for it than in here? My vintage Kit Kat clock. Again, very vintage, and it definitely fits into the spooky vibe being a black cat. So I thought this was a great little spot to hang it just to add a little interest to this blank space right here. I also wanted to take a quick little moment down here on the floor. Because of this cutie little ghost from Bath & Body Works this year, I ended up keeping him out in the studio year-round as my little air freshener and nightlight, and he's just the cutest. I love him so much. But then I also wanted to talk about these outlet plates. I ordered these off of an Etsy shop, and I will link that in the description box below. But I absolutely adore these plates. They are so cute, and you can flip them both ways. They are both very like mid-century and atomic, while also kind of being a little bit like Beetlejuice to me. Like they kind of remind me of the fireplace from Beetlejuice and have a little bit of a Burton-esque quality to them. We had started out with just the one for my light switch plate, and then I loved it so much that I ordered 5 more. So these are so cool. They were a little bit pricey, but they were totally worth the investment for me because I think design is all about the details, and those details just really polish off the room. Also, of course, speaking about lights and detail, I cannot forget to show you this beautiful gold Sputnik chandelier that I installed in this room. Again, this was one of the first things I did when we moved into this house. I got this on Amazon pretty cheap for a Sputnik fixture. I think it was like $60, and it's held up great for the last 2 years. I just think it's beautiful and interesting and really finishes off the room beautifully. I will say my one complaint is that it puts off a ton of heat, and it can get really, really hot in here when I am filming. But other than that, this was definitely the right choice for this space. So then moving around the wall from the shelf is my vanity area. And now, if you've been with me again for a little bit, you might remember that the vanity actually used to be over on this wall. And when I would film like a makeup tutorial or a hair tutorial from behind it, the spider web wall would be behind me. And while I really loved the way that looked and the aesthetic of that, it was not the best use of this space for a couple of reasons. One, because every time I tried to set my ring light and my camera up against that wall to film this way, I was fighting with the vanity. I couldn't get the right angles because I couldn't push the camera back far enough. The other thing that really bothered me about it is that that side of the room gets like no light whatsoever. So when I was filming or doing makeup or hair or whatever, I would have to also finagle the ring light and put it behind the vanity and then get the camera behind, and like it ended up being pulling everything out into the room and trying to dig behind the mirror to plug in the ring light. Like it was just way too much effort, and it was making creating less enjoyable for me. And so I decided to just fix the problem and move the vanity. And this has been such a great location for it. I'm thrilled with having this here. This is the only window in this room, and so it is a perfect place to sit and do makeup and get plenty of natural light. This window gets a ton of light during the day. You can't really tell right now because it's raining today, but this is normally just a huge source of light. And so if I want to film something with makeup, now I can just set the camera up on a tripod on the vanity and open the window and not have to worry about finagling all this equipment to get a good angle or good quality footage. I also love this because I feel like it opened up the room so much, and you'll see when I kind of pan the room, like I feel like having the room more open in the way that it is long. Like this is the long part of the room, this is the short part. And so having this flow more open has made the space feel bigger, and I just overall think it was the right call. I did end up leaving my mirror on that wall, my big vanity mirror, because I usually end up doing my makeup in a very small, like standing mirror anyway. And so also not cutting that mirror off halfway with the vanity has made this room just look so much more open as well. As you can see, I've got all kinds of really cool stickers and things under the vanity top here. This is my little collection of spooky stickers that I have gathered over the last probably like 5 years. And every time I find a new one that I love, I stick it under this vanity top. And it's really nice because I have them just sitting there, so they're not stuck to the vanity, so I can rearrange them or replace them as time goes on, but I still get to see them every day and appreciate them. Also on top here, I have this lady head face that is painted to look like Beetlejuice. Now I will say the original idea for this comes from Lucky Hellcat. She makes these and they are beautiful. But until I can one day afford to purchase her beautiful art, Bethany made this for me as kind of a placeholder, and I really think it turned out very cute. Again, it's that perfect blend of something that is very recognizably vintage, like a lady head vase, and then making it spooky. I also have this beautiful tray over here that Bethany made. It is a mosaic tray, and it's got the black and white stripes to carry through the little whispers of Beetlejuice throughout the room. And I've got my little coffin bobby pin box and all my perfumes and stuff over here. I also love this chair. I found it on Facebook Marketplace, and it was like an overstock piece that someone bought and sold to me really cheap. It's got the like gold legs, and it's the perfect shade of pink. It matches the wall beautifully. I originally bought this for my closet, but I loved it so much. I moved it in here one day just because I needed some back support while I did a makeup project, and I liked the way it looked in here so much that it never left. So I think this is a perfect vanity seat. I did originally have a stool at the vanity, but I found that it didn't offer me the back support I needed. So I ended up moving that over here, and it now lives in this little corner, and it's the perfect height for the shelf vignette. So this is a great little piece to have, and it also a lot of times functions as a table for me when I'm doing unboxing videos. Okay, so we are on our last couple stops on the tour here. If you're still here, thank you so much. So extending over from the vanity, I bought this little set of drawers, and this has been a huge upgrade to the space. I wanted somewhere where I could organize eyeshadow palettes and wigs and things I don't use every day so that my vanity top was not completely cluttered all the time. So I bought and assembled this little set of IKEA drawers, and this has been a lifesaver. And then I made the top of it a little charging station slash equipment storage area. This was an absolute necessity for this room because I had struggled with keeping all my equipment in one place, having a spot where I knew like my batteries were always charging, my mics were always charging. So I just hooked a power cord to the back of this drawer set with command strips, and that way I can just put the little cords of all my chargers around the back and plug them in really easily. And that way I know where all my batteries are, all my tripods are. Everything that I need for filming, my camera, everything hangs out right on this little tabletop, so it's right where I need it when I'm ready to go. Now, I've mentioned that I was gonna do this a couple of times, and I am so happy with how this turned out. This is my wall of fan art. Now, if you haven't heard me talk about this before, I wanted to be really careful because I didn't want it to come off as like me being narcissistic, but I wanted to display all the art that people have made for me. A, because y'all are talented and the art is beautiful, and B, because I find it really inspiring to see how you guys see me. And the whole point of this space is to feel creative and inspired when I come in here, and this really helps me with that. Again, these three little shelves were in the space when we moved into the house, and they were over there originally where the big shelf is. And I had held on to them, not really sure what I was going to do with them. They ended up being perfect for this purpose. And then I just got a bunch of white frames that fit each piece. I also like this because since the art is just sitting on the shelves rather than hanging on the wall, I can change it out or add to it as I get different pieces of art. And that way it keeps inspiring me, it stays fresh. So if you feel so inspired, feel free to email me or send me on Instagram any fan art you do, and hopefully I will be able to put it up on the little wall of fame over here. So that does it for this wall. We're kind of turning the corner. You can see a little bit of this, but I'm gonna re-angle just a bit. All right, so this is the mirror wall. Again, I think aptly named. As you can see, this giant mirror behind me is bigger than me and shaped like a coffin. This is another awesome project from Bethany. My understanding is that her dad or someone in her family like goes into rental buildings and cleans them up before the next business takes over. And they cleaned out something that was like a salon or a dance studio, and they had these like wall of mirrors, and Bethany salvaged this piece and had it cut and framed into a giant coffin mirror. This is like just one of the coolest things on the planet to me, and it's one of those things that like literally no one else will have. I mean, you could always make your own, but I love this so much, and it's gonna give me a lot of freedom to do like really cute outfit of the day photos and stuff like that. Again, having this space open without the vanity here is really awesome and allows me a lot of freedom to make even different types of content that I haven't been able to before. So since the mirror is obviously the focus of this wall, I wanted to build a little bit of a gallery wall around it. As you've already, I'm sure, noticed throughout the room, one of my favorite things in the world is to support small artists, especially spooky small artists, and they always just have the coolest, most clever, unique, beautiful pieces. I can't get enough of it. So I wanted a place to display all this art that I've had like sitting around for probably a year or more, a lot of it, where I just hadn't gotten around to like buying the right size frame, hanging it somewhere, that kind of thing. So it starts over on this side. This M is actually from Old Time Pottery, and my old boss got this for me actually. He and his husband went out and got me that, and I thought it was so sweet. It's obviously an M for Midge, and so I put it up there. Then I've got these little bats going up the wall. These are from Sinister Signs. I also have this little embroidery hoop that says Faux Pose Foes, which if you are a Gilmore Girls fan, you might understand that reference. But my best friend Stephanie actually made that for me for Halloween or Christmas a couple years ago, and I'm happy to have it displayed on my wall. And then of course my beautiful Headless Horseman piece from Olivia Faust Art. I love Olivia's work. She is just absolutely an incredible artist, and this piece is so perfect for me. It's kitschy. It's got these like pink and teal retro sparkles, but then it's the Headless Horseman, who is of course my favorite thing ever. So this piece, I had to have this, and I'm so happy with how it looks on the wall here. And I love that the pinks and teals in this really tie into my other gorgeous floor lamp in this room. Some of you all might remember when I unboxed this shade on the channel. This is from Deadly Darling Nightshades, and I have this custom made for this room. It's got like a pink velvet underlayer and then this bat mesh on top and black fringe. I had originally bought this to put on Barnabas, and then when I got it and put it on him, it was just too much because he's already so much. So I ended up putting it on this lamp that I've had forever. This was my grandmother's lamp, and I painted it probably 6 years ago when I lived in their house after college. This lamp was left in their home, and it was originally like a really brassy color. I painted it this turquoise color, which actually has ended up being the exact same color as Barnabas, which is perfect. It's got this really cool little glass table on it. And I actually had this lamp in our guest room because I didn't have anywhere to put it in here. And when I shifted everything over, this ended up being the perfect spot for it in this corner. There we go. There's it on, and I think it just warms up this white corner and fills this little awkward space perfectly. And it brings those pinks and everything from that side of the room over here, just ties everything together perfectly. I love it. And then the last stop is this little art section over here on the other side of the mirror. I meant to create kind of more of a spaced out gallery wall in this section, but it ended up all very on the top level because I was basing it off of the other side where the lamp takes up the bottom half. But honestly, I'm kind of glad because this gives me so much space to continue building out this gallery. And I know myself and I will buy a lot more art, so I'm glad I have the space to keep going. But yeah, this just has some very cute pieces. It's got my two little spooky beach babes from Art by Catatomic. It's got this beautiful print that one of y'all sent me. I don't remember her shop name off the top of my head, but I will link her in the description. It's also got my little Pushing Daisies print from Designed by Shay, of course, because Pushing Daisies, you know, it's my favorite show ever. And lastly, of course, my Glamour Ghoul plaque from 12 Months of October, because duh. Something that worked out really beautifully and unexpectedly was that all the art on this wall ended up kind of having a similar color scheme, and I didn't mean for it to. But like, as you've probably noticed, there's a lot of these like sagey greens in all of these pictures, and a lot of this like soft kind of corally red, pink. It's just like one of those things where you don't really plan for it, but it happens and it works out beautifully. And I love the way that this turned out. I also think in the right context, this affords me the opportunity to maybe take a picture here and have some art behind me. I don't know. We'll see. So here's the full wall all together. I did want to take a moment and give the mirror its full due because as you can see, it's just absolutely huge and goes all the way to the floor. I love this wall. It turned out so great, and having things hanging all over now really makes this space feel complete. All right, friends, so that is all she wrote. Like I said, I am just so excited and happy that this space is finally done. I feel so invigorated and creative when I come in here, and that's been the point the whole time, is to make sure I have a space that makes me excited to create and do my job. And this is that space for me. At first I was really frustrated that it took me so long to finish it, but at this point I wouldn't have it any other way. If it had been done a moment sooner, it wouldn't be this space. It wouldn't look the way it looks, and it wouldn't be perfect. This is exactly what I pictured and so much more, and I'm just so thrilled that this is mine. Like, I get to work in here. How cool is that? Thank you all so much for joining me today for this studio tour. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up and leave me a comment down below and let me know what was your favorite part of the space or your favorite piece. And of course, if you are not already, be sure to subscribe to the channel before you leave today. I put out a new video almost every week, and we would love to have you as a part of our Glamour Ghoul gang. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, keep it campy, kooky, glamorous, and spooky. Bye!
When windows come out to social.